So today we're going to be looking at some media lies. A teenage girl was arrested outside a McDonald's in the UK, not for daring to dine in after 5 p.m., but for becoming defiant after being served and then told she couldn't stay. She and her friends entered before the cutoff, were served around 4:50 p.m., and then informed they couldn't remain inside. Things escalated, staff called the police, and the girl's hostility led to her arrest, not the restaurant's policy itself. Now to Donald Trump and the federal takeover of the DC police.
And we're here for a very serious purpose, Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the DC Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening, and they've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly.
Before we get into how the media will put a spin on it, let's look at the facts. In 2024, Washington, D.C. recorded a homicide rate of 27.3 per 100,000 residents, the fourth highest in the nation. That's nearly 6 times higher than New York City and even exceeds the rates in Atlanta, Chicago, and Compton. Yet somehow, this isn't the narrative they want you to focus on. Instead, you hear this.
So I do want to pull up the crime statistics from 2024 to 2025 here, because you can see the downward trend. Violent crime, 26%, robbery down 28%, sex abuse down 50%. But again, she did acknowledge that there is still crime happening in the district, and clearly she is still trying to walk this tightrope that we've seen her trying to walk since Donald Trump came back into office.
The crime rate in D.C. has been dropping, and so there is a big question. Why today? Why now? I have to tell you, I've talked to a lot of people in law enforcement. I was a federal law enforcement officer. They're suspicious people. They watch the news. Casey, I've heard from more than a handful who say that could this be some type of way to deflect from the Jeffrey Epstein case, which has obviously dominated the news. So again, a lot of big questions about why now, why the timing.
The media keeps insisting crime in DC is down, but that doesn't match what people are seeing and dealing with daily. By cherry-picking statistics, they create a false sense of safety that puts people at risk. Now, by amplifying coverage of the Epstein files, they're steering attention away from the real and urgent issue, DC's persistently high crime rates.
And you don't have that now. The murder rate in Washington today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about as being the worst places on earth, much higher. This is much higher. The number of car thefts has doubled over the past 5 years, and the number of carjackings has more than tripled. Murders in 2023 reached the highest rate probably ever. They say 25 years, but they don't know what that means because it just goes back 25 years. Can't be worse. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs and homeless people. And we're not going to let it happen anymore. We're not going to take it.
Donald Trump is doing the right thing by taking control of the DC police. He's helping clean up the city, while other leaders just watch their cities fall apart. He is stepping in to fight crime and keep people safe. His actions show real leadership and a commitment to fixing problems others ignore. More media lies.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump is vowing to remove the homeless from Washington, D.C., and he's promising to stop violent crime in that city. Today's announcement comes despite recent stats showing violent crime in the city is at actually a 30-year low. Even the city's mayor says there is no spike in crime.
The president claiming that crime is out of control here in the District of Columbia. Now, there are stats that refute that from the Department of Justice and from the Metropolitan Police here in D.C., which both indicate that violent crime and crime in general has been trending downwards here in D.C. for the last 30 years, including last year over this year. However, the president has long, for many years, seen crime as a winning issue for himself. It plays very well with his base. It plays very well with his supporters.
It's wrong for the CBC to say Trump is just targeting homeless people while they ignore the actual crime in DC. The city has real safety problems, and Trump is trying to fix it. The media should report the facts, not push stories that confuse people or make the situation seem less serious than it is.
We're standing by this morning for President Trump to speak at the White House. He's expected to address crime in the nation's capital once again as he is threatening a federal takeover of the district's local government. Over the weekend, the administration launched, I guess you call it a crackdown in D.C., involving up to 450 federal officers. And now a source is telling CNN that the plans are going even further. And now the plans call for as many as 130 FBI agents to patrol the streets with D.C. police, which, to say the least, would be highly unusual. The president's floated the possibility of deploying the National Guard even there as well. All of this despite that the numbers don't necessarily match the rhetoric, that the stats and the data show that violent crime has dropped in D.C. compared to this time last year.
Over and over, they're distorting the facts, downplaying the crime and the risk to the public, all for their own agenda. Why would they do that? Put people at serious risks. Why are they all pushing the same cherry-picked numbers to deceive people?
CNN's Elena Trine is at the White House. His fixation on this is only getting more fixated, not less, despite what the numbers say. What are you expecting to hear from the president today?
Well, I put it this way, Kate. We've definitely seen, of course, the president repeatedly try to paint himself as a law and order man, a law and order president. We've also seen him repeatedly this term push the boundaries of his executive authority. And we're really going to see both of those things kind of escalate today when he addresses reporters at 10 a.m. in the White House briefing room. Now, I'm expecting to hear a lot of the same things we've seen the president post over the weekend. Just to give you one of them from yesterday, he said, quote, "The homeless have to move out immediately. We will give you places to stay, but far from the Capitol." He went on to say, "The criminals, you don't have to move out. We're going to put you in jail where you belong."
Giving homeless people a place to stay and putting criminals in jail. They twist this into a negative thing, and somehow people all over fall for it. The fact that there are so many homeless people and that crime is at the levels that they are is why he's taking control. Because the people in charge are not doing their jobs.
Of course, this is an extraordinary move by the president. I want to bring in our Brian Todd here. Brian, we're already getting reaction from D.C. council members.
We are, Pamela and Wolf. This coming into CNN from Council Member Charles Allen of the 6th Ward in D.C. His post is, quote, "The president taking over local control of MPD and putting the U.S. military onto the streets of D.C. under the guise of public safety is wrong. It's an extreme, outrageous, and dangerous move for our city and the safety of all of our residents." He's the first city council member to react.
A dangerous move for the city and the safety of all the residents. This couldn't be anything further from the truth. CNN really trying to push that the president tackling the crime and homelessness in DC is wrong and dangerous. No wonder Trump calls them fake news. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.